Hello everyone, class is in session. I have your reading list right next to me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Maudlin. I'm a mad scientist of fashion. Typically what I like to do is I like to combine existing aesthetics with weirdcore. If you've been following along for a while, you know that I recently combined bimbocore with weirdcore to create Bimbazar. But yesterday and in the past couple of days, I've been combining Coquette with weirdcore to create coquettamine. Now, these are just rinky-dink little aesthetics that only I am participating in as of now. But like any big corporate aesthetic like goth, I wanted there to be music, literature, poetry, and film to back up the subculture that I made up for my own amusement. I already did that with Bimbazar a couple of videos back if you're curious about that. But let's get into coquettamine. Today I'm going to be showing you different books from around my room that I think perfectly fit the vibes. And the vibes are as such. Like Coquette, it's demure and feminine and soft and cute. But like weirdcore, it's a little surreal, a little grotesque, wacky, wild. So that is the sort of vibe that we're picking up on for literature and books. So let's get into it. The first book I selected is I Spy Spooky Night. Now give me a chance to justify this pick to you by showing you the bedroom in Spooky Night. Now tell me a weird little Coquette girl doesn't live in this haunted house. Am I wrong? And there's also a really cute little dollhouse in this book. So I think this book is so, I mean, the graphics are so wild and fun. This is like just classic Walter Wick. So it's sort of bringing in the maximalist element that I'm trying to get at with this aesthetic, as well as something demure, something feminine, something cutesy, but also a little bit weird and upsetting. Do you see the vision? Do you see the vibes? If not, keep watching. If yes, keep watching. Next up, this one might make a little more sense. This is a book that I got at a library book sale. It's called Romantic Victorian Weddings Then and Now. And this is basically a handbook from the 80s on how to make your wedding Victorian inspired. But it's really fun. There's a lot of like really fun historical references, but I just thought, like, what's more coquette than planning your wedding years in advance and then sort of drawing inspiration from like a picnic at Hanging Rock type situation like that. I mean, come on now. The weirdcore element is of course just picking up a weird book from the library, from a library book sale, and using it as reference inspo. Next up we have Dreams by Jung. This is a book all about dream analysis and something about taking the surreal nonsense gunk that comes out of your brain when you sleep and making it into something maybe more than it is just very coquettamine to me. I personally think dreams are very important. I personally put a lot of stock and inspiration and importance on my dreams. Feels like a third of your life is spent sleeping. How could what you experience when you sleep not be important? But I do think that this book is a little bit silly, but in a good way. Jung was kind of a contemporary of Freud, so he does kind of take things too far sometimes in terms of dream analysis, but this book and the idea of interpreting your dreams feels very coquettamine to me. The next book is Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. This is a fiction book that is based on a lot of Russian folklore and Russian literature. It basically follows a little girl who eventually grows up to be a young woman who marries Koshchei Besmертный, or Koshchei the Deathless. He's a man who is immortal and sort of lives in this faraway realm with all of these strange Russian mythology characters. And she sort of adapts to this kind of surreal new landscape that she finds herself in, and the very tumultuous and sort of unpredictable relationship she has with her beau. That feels very coquette to me, and of course like the Russian mythology backdrop feels very weirdcore. Baba Yaga is a prominent character in this book, as well as domovoi or house elves, if you want to get Harry Potter about it, which I don't. Domovoi are 1,000 times more awesome. The Domovoi in this book actually have unions and are sympathetic to the Communist Party, so this book is very cool. There's a lot of like really fun like historical fiction, but there's like a fantasy element, so I love this book and it just rings so true to this particular aesthetic for me. I put Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka on this list and then I said no, too obvious. So it's sort of on here, but it's too obvious. It's just too obvious. I'm going to put this book, Reluctant Immortals, on this list, and I don't particularly love this book simply because I didn't finish it because I got kind of bored and frustrated with the certain narrative choices. However, I do feel like the basis and concept for the entire novel is very coquettamine. It basically follows two literary characters that we're familiar with, Lucy from Dracula and Bertha from, oh my gosh, what's the book with Mr. Rochester where he locks his wife in an attic? Jane Eyre is, I can't remember. I don't, see, I don't, English literature is not my forte, but it is an interesting book. It's got these two very charming, sweet little young ladies who are doomed and cursed by the narrative. And it all takes place in the late 1960s in the Haight-Ashbury district, so that's kind of where the surrealism, weirdcore element comes in. So I do think it qualifies as this aesthetic coquettamine, cute little young ladies who are immortal / cursed, but also in this like psychedelic backdrop landscape type thing. Next up is a twofer. These are the short story collections by Karen Russell. St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves seems like, just by title alone, more appropriate for this aesthetic. The reality of the stories in these collections gets sort of dissolved at the edges, so it's just a little past realism into a more fantastical realm, and I just love the way Karen Russell sort of like erodes reality in the context of her stories. These are fabulous collections. Love them. This one's Vampires in the Lemon Grove. This is St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. Next up is a book that I do feel should be on this list, although I haven't finished it quite yet. It is The Wingspan of Severed Hands. As far as I can tell, so far this book is about a girl who has a very complicated and somewhat scary relationship with her mother. The way the book describes this very real, very feminine, very reality-based problem is very surreal and out of touch with reality. I do feel very strongly that this book belongs on this list. Just a sentence from the blurb. As a teenage girl struggles for autonomy, a female weapons director in a secret research facility develops a living neurocognitive device that explodes into self-awareness. There's just stuff going on in here, but it's like, just trust me. Next up, I put Annihilation on this list. I do feel like the uniquely feminine perspective on the surreal landscape of Area X in this book fits very well with this aesthetic, and this is one of my favorite just like science fiction books ever in general. It is part of a trilogy, but I think it stands alone very nicely. Just something about being a woman among women, but you're like distinctly different from the people in your immediate vicinity, and you're all kind of experiencing the same strange landscape together feels very appropriate for this aesthetic. Next up is Eve's Hollywood. This is nonfiction. This is a book by Eve Babbitt. She was this really wonderful journalist / writer / muse / party girl. She really partied hardy with the best of them back in the 1960s, and these are just kind of her musings about living in Los Angeles at the time. She's just a darling, sweet voiced character, but she kind of also has just like this acerbic wit to kind of back it all up. So I do really love this book. I think it's perfect for like this sort of strange psychedelic element that was going on in the 1960s in LA, but also this very sweet young woman who's just artistic and sensitive in that psychedelic backdrop that makes this book so compelling. Last but certainly not least, this is a book that I got out of my grandmother's attic, The Dictionary of Imaginary Places, and it's exactly what it sounds like, just a whole bunch of made-up places in one book. from all different sources of literature. You know, Lilliput is in here, the Land from Gulliver's Travels. I think it's just perfect for someone who wants to think about places that don't exist. I just felt like it would be perfect for this list and match the vibes very well. Well, that is all I could muster for now. I hope you enjoyed this reading list. I really enjoy doing this sort of cultural touchstone aspect to these aesthetics I make up. It's just a lot of fun for me. But if you can think of any books that fit with this aesthetic that you think deserve to be on this list, please let me know in the comments. I'm always so curious to hear from you. The poetry and music and film edition of this series will be out soon, as well as a lookbook on the various Coquette looks that I've done recently. I was hoping to hammer them all out today, but I feel like boiled shit because I'm about to start my period. So this was kind of all I could handle today, unfortunately. I hope to be back to my 100% tackling everything else soon. Because this is fun for me. You know, I hate having to take time off of something that is fun for me, but sometimes I don't have like the physical strength to get through things like this. I mean, like, having bipolar on top of PMS is very difficult, as I'm sure you might already know. So as always, bear with me. I'm doing my best. I hopefully will go through my week of shame without incident and be back on my bullshit soon. I will also sort of open up the floor to folks who may be interested in subscribing to me on Substack. I don't really have a Substack yet. I mean, I have one, but I haven't like figured out really what, you know, what kind of content I would be doing on there. But if that does excite you and interest you, please let me know. If you're a Substack user, what sort of things are you interested in? What sort of things from this channel bring to mind something that you'd be interested in on a newsletter type basis? I'm just very curious. I do enjoy writing. I have a lot of sort of like ideas that just like bounce off the walls and go nowhere in video content format, so it kind of seems like Substack might be a really cool way for me to expand on some of my ideas. But yeah, if there's any interest, please, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear about like what you like to see people do on Substack. I'm just sort of new to the platform, so I'm still figuring it out. Anyway, stay safe, stay sane. Until next time, bye, love you.